we haven't really, yeah, like I said, explicitly done a lot of these linear equation solving. Okay, but you'll probably remember that if you go back to some of the stuff that we've already done, so if we go to bivariate data, go all the way to the bottom towards the end, we started doing predictions and predicting equations, okay, where you have your equation, like this guy here, members, right? So you got this, and you're changing some of the variables. So in this case, we changed the variable money on ads to 2, okay, and we made a prediction. Right, and we use the calculator to find out, using that formula, okay, what is the number of members if they spent $2 million on ads, okay? So we started using equations in that regard, but we haven't really done much in terms of how to solve an equation by hand, and also solving an equation with different variables. So if you want to find the x variable or if you want to find the y variable, it's doable on the CAS. Okay, so we're going to learn how to do that today, just how to solve some equations, because you will be using it in the SAC. Okay, and it might not be a big part of the SAC, but there might be a couple of questions where it says make a prediction on this variable. Okay, and that's when you'll be using your CAS or this what you're learning now. All right, so that's basically all of 3B and 3C, what we're focusing on. All right, so firstly, there's going to be a question on the SAC where it asks you to construct a table or a table of values. You've probably seen this before, and you've seen this so many times already in this topic. Are you guys familiar with it, the table of values? Okay, if you go back to our notes in chapter 7, I'll show you. You'll have seen a lot of table of values. Okay, there's an example of a table of values. Okay, there's another one. There's also another example of a table of values. Okay, so these are things that you shouldn't be unfamiliar with, because we've worked with it a few times. It's just that now, instead of giving us the table of values, we have to create table of values. Okay, and it's not that hard. A lot of the times, okay, the table of values, okay, can be formed or can be made when they give you a formula. Okay, so as you can see here, there's some instructions on how you can do it on your CAS. There's a copy and paste function on your CAS, and you can do it. You can do that a lot easily. But I'll show you guys how to do that. Okay. For example, okay, here is a equation that we've got. So it's n equals 22.5 plus 3.2v. Okay, so that's our formula. And what we want to do is complete the table of values just using that equation. Now, we can do this by hand, okay, by using that formula. So, for example, if you got the formula n equals 22.5 plus 3.2v, 3.2 times v, what this is saying is in order to get n, you use this formula here, okay, where all we're changing is v on the formula to figure out what it is. So, for example, I'm going to do maybe this first one by hand, but you don't need to do it by hand. Okay, you can just do it on your calculator. So, for example, if I want to figure out what is n if v was 10, so n will be equal to 22.5 plus 3.2 times, and we're going to use 10 as our v. Okay, so solving that, n equals 22.5 plus 3.2 times 10 is 32. And then solving that, n equals 54.5. So therefore, the first value there is 54.5. Now, you won't have to, again, do it by hand. That's a lot of work to do. So we do that on our CAS. Okay, and this is one way you can do it. You don't always have to do it this way. So if we go to our CAS, you add a calculator. Just use that formula, 22.5 plus 3.2 times 10. And that'll give us the first one, yeah? So what I put a stop point there. If you want, you don't actually have to rewrite the formula. You can just go up, highlight it, press enter, and it will re-paste it for you. Delete that, and then you can go to the next value. As you can see, the next one is 15. So we try 15. Enter, and it's 70.5. Okay, and we can keep going to figure out the rest of the values. So enter, delete that, and then that'll be 20. Okay, so 86.5. Got another 3. Okay, cool. So it's essentially repeating what you're doing only by copying and pasting the formula already. So it's 25. Now, you might think this is a bit tedious, and you're right, it is. Okay, but I just want to show you how to do this as well. So if you want, you can practice doing this now. Copy and paste 30. So that'll be 118.5. And the last one is 35. So it's literally just go up, press enter, and because then it'll highlight it. And if you press enter, it'll copy and paste it, and then you can just change it. So 134.5. Okay. Now, that is a bit tedious. I get that. So what we can do then on our calculator is you can actually do this on a spreadsheet. Okay, so if I'm on this menu, I press Control I add a list and spreadsheet. Now, if you look at the variables, I can see that the two variables are N and V. So what you want to do first is put your V variables in. Okay, so we'll call this V. V. And the numbers are 10, 15, 20, 25, 32, 30, and 35. Okay. And what you can do is now, okay, I've got that. So on your CAS, looking at your formula, N equals 22.5 plus 3.2V, call this second column N, okay, because that's what we're trying to look for, N. And then notice how on every column that you have, we've normally left this guy blank, this second row. But now, this is where we can actually put formulas to find out certain numbers. So in order to put a formula here, you can press the enter button, the equals button, which is this. So equals, and N equals. So we now just repeat this formula. 22.5, okay, plus 3.2 multiplied by, and then if you've done it correctly, this V should be a little bit bold. Okay, and then when you press enter, it's going to ask you for this column reference, just go okay. Actually, no, go, I think it's variable reference. And then there you go. So there's your variables. Okay, 54.5, 70.5, and then you just copy that down as you see it. Okay, it's pretty straightforward, I would say. It's a lot easier as well than doing this. And also definitely a lot easier than doing it by hand. Okay, because it does take a bit of time. So use that in order to make a table of values. All right, let's move on to the next part, which I've done all that. That's essentially all you got to do for 3B. Okay, for 3C, it's a little bit different. Okay, let's do 3C. Okay, solve the linear equations by applying the inverse operation to both sides of the equation. Okay, actually, how about let's pause it there. 3C is going to relate to things you would have done in linear last year, where you were trying to solve equations by using certain, certain tactics or certain little steps that you can use. Now, everybody sort of taught it differently. For me, when I taught this to my class, yeah, the way I learned it was just a bit different, but still probably would have given you the same results. Right, so let's solve these equations by hand. So solving a linear equation by hand, you need to apply inverse operations to both sides of the equation. So when we're talking about both sides of the equation, it's talking about the equal sign. So when you have an equal sign, okay, it's talking about this side and that side. So whenever you're moving numbers from one side to the other, okay, it's always talking about inverse operations. Okay. All about, for these solving linear equations, you have to focus on that equal sign, because whenever you move variables between them on one side to the other, you're going to have to change or apply what we call the inverse operation. Okay, and the idea is what you want to try and aim for is you want to make sure that the unknown expression is on one side, or how I would reword that is by itself. So you're trying to make sure that the unknown, or that for the variable that you're trying to look for, ends up being by itself. So because that's essentially how we solve it. Okay, let's look at these equations here. solving these equations. So let's try A. Okay, x plus 7 equals 2. Now you could look at that and say, sir, I know that the answer is going to be, what is it? X plus 7 equals 2. It's a negative number of some sort. Anyone know? Minus 5. Okay, but we don't just solve it like that in our heads. Okay, we want to be able to show our working out. So to do this, when you look at this equation, okay, you want to try and isolate or make by itself the variable that's unknown. So we're trying to isolate this. If you want to make x by itself, what do you have to move?
7.
The 7. Okay, this guy. Now this is a positive 7. So if I move it to the other side, it becomes a negative 7, the opposite. That's what it means to apply inverse operations. It becomes the opposite of what it is. So when you try and solve this now, x equals 2 minus 7. 2 minus 7 is negative 5. So there's your answer. That's how we show you working out for this. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try B. 5y equals 20. Okay, now if you try to expand this, this is saying 5 times y equals 20. So if I want to isolate, again in this case, I want to isolate y because that's the variable. I need to get rid of that 5. Okay, this is a 5 times 20. So if I get rid of that 5, I bring it here. What's the opposite of times? Divide. So it becomes divide by 5. So that means y equals 20 divided by 5, 4. There's your answer. Y is 4. Okay, and again, we repeat these for all of this. So let's try C. Z over 3. Sorry, that's a funky Z. Equals negative 4. Okay, this is saying Z divided by 3. Okay, so if I want to move a divided by number, this is a divide by 3. What's the opposite of divide? Times. So it becomes times 3. Therefore, Z equals negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Okay, D. Okay, this one now has a little bit more involved in it. Oops. A bit more involved. 2n take away 3 equals 1. Okay, so for this variable, we're trying to isolate n. Okay, make n by itself because it's the unknown right there. So in that case, we have to move this times 2 and this minus 3. Whenever you get an equation like this, always start with the number that is on its own, which is in this case, that minus 3. So this is a take away 3. If I bring it to the other side, what's the opposite of minus? It becomes plus. So it becomes plus 3. So it's 2n equals 1 plus 3. And I'm just rewriting it so you can see what's happening. Okay, so let's solve that. 2n. What's 1 plus 3? 4. Okay, now the last thing is you got to isolate that n. This n has to be by itself. So we're going to move this 2. It is 2 times n. So if you bring it here, it becomes divide. So it becomes divide by 2. Therefore, n is equal to 2. And if you actually wanted to test your formula to see if it made sense, remember, you don't have to write this, but the original formula was 2n minus 3 equals 1. If you substitute n here for 2, if you get the correct answer, then you've done it right. So 2 times 2 minus 3 equals 1. If you solve this, 2 times 2 is 4. Take away 3, and that definitely equals 1. So we've done it correctly, right? That's how you check if you've actually got the correct numbers. All right, let's try a couple more, E and F, and then I'll show you how to do this on the calculator, okay? So for E, the formula is 3 m take away 5 equals 15. Okay, when you get a question like this, always expand your equation first. Don't just go start chopping and changing things. It's always good to expand. So this is going to be 3 times m and then 3 times negative 5. So that would be 3m take away 15 equals 15. Okay, working this out now. Remember, this equation is quite similar to that first one there, for D. So now all we have to do is isolate the m. This is a, you got to take out 3. So multiply by 3 and minus 15. So let's start off with the minus 15. This is a minus 15. Bring it here, becomes plus 15. So you have 3m equals 15 plus 15 is 30. Now, you have m here, isolate that m, make 3 by removing the 3. This is 3 times m. Bring it to the other side, it becomes divided by 3. So m equals 10. I always start off with these equations here by expanding them. All right, last one. P plus 9 over 4 equals 6. All right, so f p plus 9, what was it, over 4? Over 4 equals 6. Okay. Okay, easy. This one's straightforward again. So when you get a question like this, okay, p plus 9 over 4 equals 6, start off, okay, by isolating, okay, or actually understand what you need to isolate, which is that p, okay? So in order to do that, actually with this question here, something that you might need to understand is this is saying p over 4 plus 9 over 4 equals 6, okay? Just understand this, but you won't probably need to do this in the SAC because it's easier in the calculator, okay? But just understand this. P over 4 plus 9 over 4. So this is P over 4. I want to isolate P over 4, and to do that, get rid of that 9 over 4 first. If you want to, actually let me do this. You can actually change it to a decimal and it makes it even easier, okay? 9 over 4 as a decimal, is 2.25. Okay, if I wanted to make this a bit less complicated. But in any case, this is now plus 2.25. Get rid of that, put it here, becomes minus 2.25. So you have P over 4 equals that. 6 minus 2.25, which is 3.75. Okay, now you have it divided by 4. Bring that over here, becomes times by 4. Okay, and you can put that on your CAS. I'm not smart enough to do that. 3 point.
Sorry, it's making it complicated.
Yeah, no, you're
Is it?
Too hard. Yeah, you can just.
There's literally, you can do it in 2 steps.
All right, yep, but I'm just saying it's just one way.
Multiply by 4 and then
Yeah, I understand that. But just for some people, 0.75, okay, equals 15. Okay. Now again, what Farhad and some of the other boys said was you could actually just do this and go, okay, times this by 4. So you got P plus 9 equals 24. Okay, and then just minus that 9, which equals 15. That also works, okay? But I'm just showing you that there's other ways to do it as well. Now, you can do this all by hand, yeah? But I would actually suggest that you can actually do this on your calculator as well. I'm going to show you how to do it on your calculator, all right? So for these equations here, we're going to do it on our calculator. So let's do A first. On your calculator, all you have to do is, let's close this. Always start on your document when you start a new question, because I find that if you don't, if you use the same letters, it can get a bit complicated. I should always start a new document when you do this. So go to the home menu, press new, and then go add calculator. Now I can see my equation here, A equals 5, or A minus 5 equals negative 4, okay? Now, I'm actually not sure, I haven't done this in a while here, but on the calculator, if you go menu, action, algebra, and then you go solve. I wonder if it works here. I'm just going to check. A minus 5 equals negative 4, comma A. I'm just seeing, I haven't done it this way before. Let me just check. Oops. Okay, yeah, it does it for you. Easy. All right, so the way to do this, I've only done this before with 2 variables, yeah, but in this case, it's really easy. All you have to do is on your calculator, press menu, and then you get this menu. Go to algebra. So menu 3, and then use this function called the solve function. Oops. I'll do that again. Menu, algebra, and then solve. Okay? And then you get this. Now, all you have to do once you get this is you actually just type in that formula. So let's say we'll go back to A again, yeah? The formula for A is A minus 5 equals negative 4. So you literally type in A, take away 5, equals, so when I say equals, I'm referring to this button here, negative 4. And then we press the comma button. And then from there, press the letter that you're looking for. So in this case, I'm looking for A. I want to figure out what A is. So press A.
Where's the equals?
Over here.
It's right.
Right under control.
Where's the comma button?
Should be down here, under the pi button. Okay, and then when you press that and you press enter, it'll solve and give you what A is. Okay. We can do that for any equation. So let's say you've got, so that should be A equals. Oh yeah, one more thing in terms of showing you working out. If you've done it this way, what I think assessors do want to see is this. So you literally type in solve. So you go solve A take away 5 equals 4 comma A. Sorry, negative 4.
What if the question is only one bar?
I think it's probably still a good idea to show this. And then just write the answer, A equals 1. Okay, so show this for me. Okay. Just want to make sure you get all the marks that you can. Okay, let's try B. B, the equation is negative 3B equals 18. So on your calculator, you actually don't have to go menu and then algebra and then solve. If you don't want to, you can actually also just type in the word solve, but that might take a bit longer. LVE, and then put a bracket. Solve, and then the equation is negative 3B equals 18. And then comma. So with the comma, the idea of the comma is you put the comma in, and then you write down the variable that you're looking for. So comma, what are we looking for? B. And then close the bracket. So B is negative 6. So as working out, you want to make sure you type in solve negative 3B equals 18, comma B. B is equal to negative 6. All right, so that's how we use it on a calculator. Now, I want to just quickly go through one more thing because chances are you're going to have a formula, okay, and you're going to be asked to figure out some certain variables where you have your EV and RV and all those formulas, but you got to figure out different things. Different variables. So let's see if I can find a variable here we can work with really quickly. All right, let's just go. I'm gonna go back here really quickly, just to use our formula. Yeah. Let's use this one: height and weight. Okay, so the formula here, and actually let's write it in here. So weight equals negative 85 plus 1.87. Okay, I'm gonna put that here. Just put it in here somewhere. Okay, I want you to do this because some of you guys might not get it in the SAC. So it was negative 85 plus 0.87. Okay, so here, normally you'll be given a formula, right? And it's going to ask you, oh, actually most of the time, it tells you to make a prediction on weight. Okay, but sometimes you might need to look for a prediction on height. I'm going to transfer this formula back to the y equals, yeah? So just for now, y equals negative 85 plus 0.87 times x. If I want to figure out what is x or what is y, okay? Normally, yeah, you'll be saying, all right, what's the value of weight if height was 100? So you'd be going like this, yeah? Weight is equal to negative 85 plus 0.87 times, say, if height was, I don't know, 140. Okay, what is someone's weight? This is how we've normally been doing it. Okay, let's put that in like as. So, negative 85 plus 0.887 times 140. Okay, and we've been getting that, okay, which obviously doesn't sound right. 36.8. Now, sometimes, okay, what if it wants you to figure out, let me write that down. What if it wants you to figure out, though, what is your height? What do we have here? Sorry. 36.8. What if it's the other way and you have to figure out the height? Okay. So, but it gives you the weight. So if someone has a weight of say like 60 kilos, what might their height be? Okay. So what this is saying is if weight was 60, 7 times, what is the person's height? Okay. How do we solve this now? Okay. We can actually use what we've been doing, the inverse operations, which is all this stuff, but you can also do this on your CAS. So, but what you need to do is if you are doing it on your CAS, you just got to change the variables back to what X and Y are. So if Y equals 60 equals negative 85 plus 0.87 times X, what is X? So if you do that on your calculator, okay, you can actually figure out what X is. So again, using that function menu, algebra, solve, okay, it's going to be 60, 60 equals, negative 85 plus 0.87 times X, and then comma X, because that's what we're looking for. Close it. And therefore, the height of that person is 166.67. Okay, so using that solve function, you can actually find different variables depending on what you're looking for. Okay, so just be aware that if you do use the solve function, you can't put things like, for example, if I go menu, okay, you can't use things like, for example, you can't write down weight. It won't work. If I go weight, GHT, see how it doesn't change the font? It stays like in the italics. That means this won't work. It has to be just X or Y. Okay, when you do these. Okay, so when you do these solve functions, just understand how to use some aspects of it, and that you'll be asked to also solve, not just for the X variable, you might be asked to solve what's the Y variable every now and then. Okay, so just get used to that. All right, that is it.